All right, Malaysian authorities have arrested 28 people for defying the government's movement curbs. Now, as you can remember, Malaysia had the army to support police in enforcing tough restrictions to halt the spread of the coronavirus. And people have been told to stay at home, and all schools and most businesses have closed, while Malaysians are barred from traveling overseas and foreigners from entering the country. But some have been ignoring these measures introduced this week. And we have more update from our EBC correspondent in Malaysia, Ruby Tinawin. Ruby?
Yes, over here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, here's the update. The Malaysia's Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has again extended the restriction order until April 14. The announcement was made just an hour ago as a result of extension because of the continuous effort to actually contain this virus. Now, in his announcement, a few items were mentioned. Number one, he mentioned to all Malaysians that we need to be mentally and physically prepared because the lockdown can extend further if the condition is not going to improve. Now, he also mentioned that nurses and doctors and all the professionals in that line who provide all the first-hand support to contain this virus are given time to rest. However, he also urged all charity organizations to rise up and to start helping out those who are in need. Now, in his announcement, he mentioned as well that more than 95% of Malaysians have followed the rule imposed by the government in the past 2 weeks of lockdown, which is stay at home, do not go out unless it's really necessary. However, deaths continue to increase, and as of today, in his speech, he did mention that 17 deaths. As compared to yesterday, that was only 15. Now, most of this, like as of yesterday's news, the 106 cases yesterday, 43 were linked to the Muslim religious gathering, according to the Ministry of Health. And whereas 64 patients were admitted to intensive care units, and 24 of them were on ventilators. Now, what was highlighted is the fact that most of those death cases were actually linked to the religious gathering, or what they call Tabligh cluster that happened a few weeks ago. And so the government is still trying their very best to contain and to actually conduct as many tests as possible to resolve this issue as fast as they can. Meanwhile, the Kuala Lumpur City Hall, there is the requirements for all workers, those suppliers, customers of supermarkets and restaurants to wear face masks while on the premises. This relax also, the requirement is also to relax, the imposition of a strict ruling that they should have hand sanitizers. It is encouraged, but it is not mandatory, simply because there was some kind of concern because there's a shortage of masks and shortage of sanitizers in Malaysia, and not only in Kuala Lumpur but all throughout Malaysia. And believe it or not, there's really a spike of prices of masks and sanitizers and all other goods related to because as a result of this outbreak. Now, at the airport, there are thermal scanners that are already been installed in both the airport, because in Malaysia we have the main airport, which is the KLIA, and we also have KLIA 2, they call it. So both terminals has installed thermal scanners as well, and the screening of passengers, the thorough screening of passengers started on 23rd of March, and we will continue to happen until further notice. Now, they still stick to measuring, making sure that your body temperature is below 37.5 degrees Celsius before you are allowed to proceed beyond the screening area. Now, similarly, all the LRTs and all the trains, they cut down. They are still operational, but they cut down their operating hours to 9 hours per day, and that is starting today. Starting today, they made an announcement. Express Rail Link has announced that it will start to reduce operational hours in order to comply to the recent directive by the National Security Council due to the ongoing movement control order period. So for how long will this be in effect? As a result of the latest announcement by the Prime Minister, we have yet to know. We should be able to give update as soon as we get all the information. Now, what is to be decided right now is because the lockdown is extended for another 2 weeks. School holidays is ending this week, and children are supposed to go back to schools next week. And up until now, they are still coming up with alternative actions, how the primary school kids and high school kids, especially those who are in public schools, are able to continue their studies. Now, also, the rest, like those work from home, are still in effect. Those professionals working in the front line, those who provide essential services, they continue to work back in their offices. They are not really work from home mode until now, but we'll see how the situation progress, and we wait for further announcement. Meanwhile, how people here entertain themselves. There's one part in Kuala Lumpur where residents of apartment block, they actually put up nightly public light shows to entertain themselves during the COVID-19 lockdown in the area. Because as we reported yesterday, the Kuala Lumpur area, four districts in Kuala Lumpur are on the red zone. That means most of the COVID-19 cases were identified from those places. Yeah, so the restriction is still there, and the fact that the lockdown is extended, a lot of concerns, but again, the positive note is family bonding is still happening. Like you still have the chance to stay with family, catch up with them, and all other things that probably you have not done before. Now you have more time to work on it yourself. Okay, Alma?
Okay, Ruby, can you tell me how fast is the spread or the recovery of the coronavirus in Malaysia?
For now, if you look at the statistics, at present we have a total of 106 new cases. That was yesterday. So the additional 2 that was announced today, that brought to 108 new cases, bringing the total to 1,626. The death toll is 17. That is high. So the if we were to compare, the death is still being recorded almost on a daily basis. The number is single digit, but almost on a daily basis. Recovery is not that fast, but they are trying to contain because in Malaysia the main problem is the infection is not. Those people who were infected by the virus were not the main carrier. So they were the ones who were, who received, who were infected by another infected person. So there was speculation that the amount or the total number of people that will be affected here or infected here will really be a lot. And that's why the Prime Minister said, definitely there is if the need be, then we will further extend the lockdown.
Would
Now,
you?
in
Yeah.
relation
Sige,
to
go ahead. Go
that,
ahead. Yeah.
yes, Alma?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, in relation to that, there were many support that is being established, including the National Bank of Malaysia. They are working out on some kind of support system to actually aid those people or organization were affected by COVID-19 virus, whether directly or indirectly. And they were also looking at, like, for instance, for all the residents, our national electric company here, TNB, they made an announcement that a 15% discount will be given to all the residents from April up to June in terms of paying your bills. So I think that's very helpful, because the fact that we stayed at home, like for 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks, means that your electricity consumption is also a lot. And many more will also join, because all these government agencies are working together, trying to find a way on how to ease the burden on the part of the people here. Alma?
How would you say this emergency compared to other emergencies
Can you
in
repeat that?
Malaysia has experienced?
Can you repeat that? It's
Yeah.
not very
How would
clear.
you say this compares to other emergencies in this country has experienced?
I see that here everyone is very attentive, starting from the government. They are very proactive. If you notice, the lockdown is actually until 31st of March, that is next week. And the people in the government, those from the health ministry and also from the prime minister's office, they are really monitoring the case very closely. That includes the security department and everyone in the community area, because all local governments are also providing reports. In fact, we receive messages on our phone from the security department giving us updates. And that happens almost on a daily basis. So if you talk about how they respond to this, I think they're very proactive. They're really trying their best. And that pacify a lot of people here. So the panic is not much on, knowing whether there's groceries in the supermarket. But now it's like, staying at home for another 2 weeks. So what are we going to do? Alma?
Okay, that's good. You have more time for yourselves, for the family. Thank you so much for your update, Ruby. And yes, we'll be following this developing story in your country. Thank you, Ruby.
Okay, reporting from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Ruby Tinawin. We live in interesting times.